as our stalwart, steel-laden warrior finds himself in a land filled to the brim with unseemly undead, calculating cold cultists, and eldritch abominations beyond mortal reckoning, he gets the feeling he might be in a tad over his head. Either way, it's not the worst thing if his oath has him culling some cultists, finding a way to lift a horrific world-changing curse, and battling dreadful dead deities trying to take over the world, all on the way to fulfill his true purpose of his oath, revealing the true nature of the usurper Queen Vlaakith by force if he has to. Can it be done? Well, we've got one way to find out. On to the video. Now that our champion has defeated a Chirai of Vlaakith, Curse the Disgraced arrives in the Shadow Curse lands to deal with his other enemy, the Absolute, in the second leg of his journey, where he will give no mercy to the wicked who inhabit these Shadow Curse lands. To ensure the shadows stay at arm's length, we do use the Guiding Light Ring we picked up early in our journeys to cast the Light Cantrip. Plus, we use protection from evil and good, then we get looking for our enemies. Along the way, however, we instead find possible allies in the form of Harpers working their way through the darkness, after a rather intense bit of aura farming from both sides. A sentient shadow lurks out of the darkness and takes one of the Harpers right from the midst of our pack, showing us just how powerful the curse is when it returns him as a cursed undead, kicking off the first fight of the act. Immediately, one of the Harpers takes a gnarly hit, but deciding that isn't good enough also provokes an attack of opportunity to flex on the enemies, I guess. The other shadows, meanwhile, spread their damage out a little bit more evenly, hitting every single attack, so that by the time it gets to our turn, our health ain't looking too great. Since it comes with the job title, we get a little revenge on the two shadows that walloped us with divine smites, then heal up most of what we lost. Unfortunately, one of the Umbral Undead tickle us just enough to break our concentration, and they continue to deal some truly nasty hits to these conceivable comrades of ours. At the very least, none of them go down before we're able to take out another pair of shadows and top up our HP, but it's not looking good since there's still 3 foes left. And sure enough, the Harper that decided to flex how many opportunity attacks they can trigger goes down first. Now it's a matter of avenging and not just revenge as we slaughter the rest, something that the Harper leader understands as she puts down her undead buddy. As a sign of trust, now that we've fought alongside each other, she gives us the location of a safe haven where we can plan our assault on Moonrise. But before we get heading there, first we reach level 6, granting us a very nice feature, Aura of Protection, increasing both curse saving throws and all of his nearby allies equal to his charisma mod, meaning a +2 to all of our saves permanently. Afterwards, we follow the road to our destination and find a bubble of safety around the aptly named Last Light Inn. Of course, even despite avenging their fallen, the leader of the Harpers, Jaheira, doesn't greet us too kindly, accusing us of being a true soul of the Absolute. But before things can get too out of hand, Maul from the Druid Grove comes by to vouch for our character, and just like that, we're free to roam the grounds. So we immediately jaunt on over to the titillating Tally, who sells us the Cloak of Protection, our brand new forever cloak that grants a +1 to both our AC and saving throws for even further tankiness. Next on our list of places to swing by is the Dauntless Damon, who, after giving a bit of infernal metal we picked up elsewhere, gives us the Flawed Helldust gloves for an extra 1d4 fire damage to all of our weapon attacks. And finally, for our brief shopping spree, we talk to the ever mischievous Mattis, who sells us the Evasive Shoes, granting most notably another +1 to AC for yet another boost to our defense. Now that we've gotten all of our shopping out of the way, Jaheira is waiting to have a drink with us, one laced with a bit of truth serum, which thankfully doesn't ruin the wine, but hey, we were never much of a liar anyways. During our plain-spoken palavering between pals, she mentions General Ketheric Thorm, the leader of the Absolutists at Moonrise, who just so happens to also be immortal. Jaheira's brilliant idea is to send us in to impersonate a true soul to find out what makes him so tough, after lacing us with the aforementioned truth serum. Not just that, but she also recommends we go talk to the Selûnite cleric in charge of protecting the whole place, who is way too vulnerable on a balcony by herself. So we summon Scratch, a few ice methods as well in case things go wrong, cast protection from evil and good on Isabel the cleric, and throw down a speed potion on the both of us before talking to her in turn-based mode. We exchange a few pleasantries with her, receive a blessing that gives resistance to magical necrotic and the lesser shadow curse, then our senses get proven right as True Soul Marcus shows up alongside a host of horrors ready to kidnap our cleric. Thanks to a vigilance elixir, however, we are ready and go first, instantly soul-breaking the false flaming fist, stunning him, while laying into him with smite after smite, reducing him down to a measly 18 HP. The rest of the inn seems like it's doing pretty well thanks to Jaheira, and Marcus himself goes down to Isabel, with his accompanying winged horror getting brought low to an opportunity attack from us, while another one tries to shuffle through the door. Which, by the way, the reason why the fight started on the much more defensible balcony instead of inside the room is because we spoke to Isabel in turn-based mode, making the remainder of this fight super duper easy, since the only way we actually lose is if we lose Isabel, and all the other winged horrors are too far away to pay attention to her. Maybe now they'll actually put some guards around the most important person in the Haven. As a little treat for a job well done, we bump into Harper Branthos, who tells us that the cultists have ways to traverse the deep shadow curse, and he's prepared a nice little ambush just down the road. When we actually get to the ambush spot, we see whatever the hell this abomination is muttering about how evil he is, and figure that's our cue. As a nice reversal of roles from the last fight, the ambush kicks off with our side ready to fight. Doesn't mean we get a surprise round though. On cursed turns, he runs up to the boorish Betty over here, giving him a few wallops. One of the bad guys summons more bad guys. Harper Branthos does not much at all, and when it gets to Betty, they rage at being targeted by us, only to offer a healing potion as a sign of truce. Although it doesn't look like the rest of either the goblins or the Harpers have much care for the idea of a peace offering, especially as they start shredding away at our allies on the roof, and Karnas the Drider abomination takes first blood against one of the Harpers we rescued way at the start of this act. Naturally, that means it's avenging time, but we've gotta be careful. Therefore, with a quick nod from Harper Branthos, we missy step onto the roof, take a moment to appreciate his heroic sacrifice, and bomb him and all of our enemies from on high. Our sword saves us from the spider's legendary action thanks to all of its passives, and with another bomb, we're able to finish off almost all of the goons. Plus, Branthos actually survived. Well, for a few moments at least. One of our other allies makes sure his sacrifice does not go in vain, while the not-so-amazing Spider-Man settles for just dashing and sanctuarying himself. Hoping to save our last few allies, we take out the sole remaining goon, buying our buddies some time to patch themselves up, and Karnas just sort of tickles folks this round. Unfortunately, we're far enough away to the point we have to hustle for a turn to catch up, meaning we're left shooting him from afar, giving him another turn to do as he pleases with poor Harper Ellendale, who was insistent on running away from the people who could help him. Because there's no one else to chase now, we let Karnas scramble up to us over the next couple rounds, leaving him ripe for a vow of enmity into not just one, but two absolutely gnarly critical hits. Even with this amazing opening, our allies just love provoking attacks of opportunity, so there's little we can do as he murders another Harper. Regardless, at least one of these ill-fated warriors does manage to survive one more round for us to finish off our arachnoid antagonist, allowing Curse to take the moon lantern from his corpse, which is fueled by a pixie of all things. Of course, enslaving something against its will goes against everything we stand for, so we free her and she grants us protection from the Shadow Curse anyways, just for being nice. Meaning we're free to saunter right down the road all the way to Moonrise Towers itself, where a few goblins from the wilderness are on trial for their incompetence. And since they're goblins, there's no avoiding their incompetence, something they make clear they're not the biggest fans of when the immortal Ketheric issues their execution. But kinda proving his point, they clearly weren't listening when he announced his immortality, so we're introduced to the general as he gets his hands dirty. Then he quickly skedaddles onto the roof to await us once we find a way to murder him. And unfortunately, we get told to deal with the remaining goblins to prove our loyalty to the second-hand Lady Zarel, though at the very least we give them a fair shot at it. After having done that, Zarel is so impressed by us that she murders her own bodyguard as a flex. Do we have to swear vengeance for this one too? Well, either way, she goes on to tell us about a super-duper important relic that Ketheric wants hidden under his family mausoleum. He had even sent his best bud Balthazar looking for it, but he's yet to return. Something this important can only be the source of Ketheric's immortality, but before we go to the mausoleum, we've got to investigate the Shadow Curse to see if there's some way we can get rid of it. Starting by taking out some more shadows lurking in the center of town. We get an actual surprise round on them this time to start us off, taking the shadows out quick, leaving just the run-of-the-mill undead. However, they're no real concern at all thanks to our mad AC, and we don't have to worry about ill-equipped allies to babysit release it, all in all making this fight an absolute breeze. Continuing on, we explore the city further, finding the dilapidated Masons Guild, wherein we find a secret hallway leading deeper in, practically emanating with an undead stench. Thus, it's no surprise to us at all as we jump right into the midst of a whole group of shadows. This is more or less a repeat of some of the other fights we've already done in the Shadow Curse lands, thanks to Divine Smite obliterating these enemies. Even the significantly tankier Wraith almost gets completely one-shot, but I suppose a two-shot isn't bad either, with the few remaining stragglers following with just a few blows each. Once they're cleared out, we're free to explore the rest of the room, popping open a chest containing the Helmet of Arcane Acuity, which, as the name suggests, grants Arcane Acuity for 2 turns whenever we deal damage with a weapon attack. For each turn of Arcane Acuity we have, our save DC goes up by that much, with us losing 2 turns whenever we take damage. It's not the best for what we're doing, but it basically means whatever spells we cast will be more effective. Now that we've cleared out some of the minor undead we felt lurking around, Curse gets hunting down the real big boys, leading us first to Thorm, who we unfortunately failed to convince to go willingly to their eternal rest, which means we've got to convince them with the old Zweihander. After Jerry misses us with a couple blows thanks to a protection from evil and good, we start with a speed potion, then one-shot the first Visage, reducing their head honcho's max HP by 100 in the process. And with a couple more blows, we're able to finish off another one as well before using our remaining movement to try and kite them towards the roof. A plan that works wonderfully, as none of them take any offensive action against us at all, instead wasting their turns moving, letting us rinse and repeat this strategy a few more times to pick off each of the skulls until just one and Jerry remain, leaving them vulnerable to getting walloped and wailed on respectively, taking out our very first Thorm, plus as a bonus we get Oliver Gold, who said vengeance never pays. Elsewhere in the village the next day, we find ourselves in the hospital, where we can sense another infestation of the dastardly undead. The lady at the front unfortunately falls a little too hard for our amazing impersonation.
Danger the sick.
So we've got to break our way into the source of the hospital's madness with a few sword swings instead. And boy, do we find said source in the form of Dr. Malice Thorm, who's in the midst of torturing some poor survivor who somehow wandered his way into the curse. Seeing the way this malodorous MD treats his patients, he has clearly gotta go, or so our oath compels us. Just like that, another fight begins, with both one of the nurses and the putrescent practitioner himself missing their blows thanks to protection from evil, which doesn't stop one of the nurses from buffing him up. On our first turn, we soulbreaker one of his assistants, who also gets poisoned by the crawler mucus we had coated our weapon with beforehand, paralyzing them and making it so that our next hit is a guaranteed crit, taking out the first of them then and there as we stuff them into our pocket to make sure they don't get resurrected. Then we down a speed potion, giving us another blow and another paralyzed nurse, followed by zipping on up the theater to pick up another corpse. I personally use a carry weight mod to ensure I don't have to worry about inventory management nonsense, but if you have a limited inventory, you can just stuff the corpses in a backpack, then send that to camp. Either way, we pass the turn to Malice, who dashes up the stairs and resurrects another body that we weren't quite able to pick up. No one else does anything meaningful, letting Cursed weaken one of the nurses a little bit more, then run back down to the paralyzed nurse to finish them off. So long as we keep using our full speed potion movement, they're kinda just stuck dashing after us, and their opportunity attacks have yet to land at all. Meaning for now, the fight just kinda continues to be a game of whack-a-mole, with us running after nurses to take them out, refreshing our speed potion, all while the big man continues to resurrect whatever bodies around the room we've yet to pick up, alongside using his legendary action to yoink us off the balcony and break our concentration, which is more tedious than anything else because we can walk it off while taking out the nurses, but we do have to recast our protection spell, in addition to reactivating Aura of Protection, since for some reason that gets disabled upon falling prone. Regardless, rinsing and repeating our strategy is enough to make the last of the nurses go down eventually. Our very first hit against Malice himself activates Crawler Mucus too, almost making me think we should have just done this from the start and ignored the nurses, since all we do is smash him over and over again, and Thorm number 2 is down for the count. Soon after, we track down the third Thorm to the local bar, who asks us to tell him a story. Unfortunately, we're so bad at storytelling that he tries to murder our champion. This fight is pretty straightforward compared to the last couple. We start by focusing on the patrons of the bar while staying far away from the big man, and they can't do much to us at all. Once we take the last of them out, the fight becomes even more straightforward. We simply hit the big guy, he takes next to no damage because he's immune to physical, then he uses a force damaging fart on us, forcing our hero to heal up. And on Thizibald's turn, he vomits on us, dealing fire damage that we have resistance to thanks to equipping the Darkfire shortbow. After vomiting a few times, he passes out for a turn and we're free to deal some real damage without his immunities in the way. However, it doesn't stop this fight from taking absolute ages and a whole bunch of healing potions as we sit here hitting each other back and forth, as Orpheus intended for any good bar fight. Upon taking out the last Thorm infesting this town, we get a bit more vengeance for the land by taking out a few more mild infestations here and there, giving enough XP to hit level 7, granting with it another second level spell slot for more smitey goodness, and Relentless Avenger, a very fitting name for one of our features, but it kinda blows chunks. Simply boosting our move speed by 4.5 meters if we hit someone with an opportunity attack, not that that happens often. As we regroup and recover from our trying efforts, we kill some time by seeing if we can cure the sick with our musical skills, and shockingly, we can. Well, to be more specific, Art here had a curse on him, causing him to meet a boy named Thaniel, the spirit of the land trapped in the Shadowfell, and only Halsin can rescue him. A rather good thing that we have him just sitting in our camp twiddling his thumbs, and we also have a whole bunch of summons to juice up our forces before he pops open a portal. One that needs some serious defending as the forces of evil realize what's about to happen and send out a veritable army to prevent it. Starting off, our foul foes get a bit distracted by our summons, who in turn get to work doing their own thing, but since the archers have clear line of sight, they're able to just shoot the portal directly. Therefore, when it gets to the good guys' turns, we use a speed potion, fire off a darkness arrow to protect the portal, throw a bomb into the mix, triggering our bloodlust and killing our own Mephit, who explodes into an ice patch, followed by casting a sleet storm scroll to slow down anyone approaching from that side, and finishing with an ice storm to kill a few more. Then more and more baddies keep spawning to try and stop us. All the summons we've conjured up are kind enough to take a whole bunch of hits for us until it gets back to Curse the Disgrace, whereupon we use another ice storm to take out more folks, throw a bomb which melts way more ice than I was expecting, another couple bombs to take out most of the shadows that have been creeping up on us, and pass our turn, which at least has our sleet storm refreeze most of the water. At this point, since there's so few enemies actually near us and all the ones spawning are spawning on the far side of the ice, we are pretty much in the clear so long as we continue to blow up packs of enemies, take out anyone who gets too close, and watch as they slip over and over on the ice we've made. Of course, we do still have to refresh the darkness arrows and speed potions as the fight goes on, and watch as one baddie slips his way up to the portal. But that's something we're able to quickly solve and make sure doesn't happen again, leaving us free to continue to pester any and all approaching from the ice, almost taking them all out, leaving only 2 survivors right when Halsin returns from the Shadowfell. Saving Thaniel isn't enough, however, as it turns out this is only half of him. His other half remains here in the Shadowcurse lands and has predictably been corrupted itself. Corrupted even to the point where he refuses to come with us in order to reunite with his gentler half, hopping through a portal to try and get away. Purging curses and corruption is right up our alley though, so we chase after him and find him in the middle of summoning baddies hidden behind an impenetrable barrier. One of his summons can put folks to sleep, but not us since we've downed a Peerless Focus elixir, meaning we're able to drop a wall of fire scroll right across the area he summons all of his reinforcements, killing them before they can even do a single thing. With each shadowy summon that goes down, his force field gets weakened, so all we have to do is take out the tankier fellows that don't get roasted by the wall, which really doesn't take too long for Daddy and Mommy, and not much longer for the Owlbear plush that he summons right after either. Once that fails, so too does his barrier, and we're at last able to chat it out. We're not exactly the best with kids though, and he's still reticent to actually reunite with his former self. After all, he's changed so much compared to how he used to be. But Curse knows better than perhaps any of his people that change can be a good thing. After all, what better vengeance is there than growing to be more than those who would curse you? Hearing these words is enough to convince Oliver to become one with Thaniel for good. After accomplishing that, it's time for a more simple Curse the Disgrace brand of vengeance, killing Ketheric Thorm once and for all, starting by heading to his family mausoleum. The moment we arrive inside, we notice a few buttons that, when pressed in the proper order, open up a secret passageway into a dilapidated Sharon gauntlet. Another puzzle in the gauntlet's entryway has us navigating through invisible walls by approaching from the east and then the south to hit another button opening the place properly. Entering further in, we come upon a cruel covert cloaker cloistered in the corner, but before we get the jump on it, we step on the mushroom of visual impairment, for some reason turning our view into this. Thankfully, shrooms are nothing compared to our stalwart constitution, and we can get wailing right away. The fight itself is also pretty dang easy, taking only a couple turns to get the beastie out of the way. Before we do anything else, we make sure protection from evil and good is on, and Scratch is with us in case we come across something spooky, like a whole bunch of talking skeletons who are controlled by Balthazar. For now at least, they think we're a friend of theirs. Something we're not too upset about, as undead Sharon Justiciars come pouring out of random portals. We immediately take a speed potion to try and take out the portals as fast as possible, while Scratch pulls distraction duty. Much to our chagrin, the portals spawn faster than we can take them out, even if we're taking out 3 of them in a single round. Either way, we continue to do our best at taking them out as fast as possible, all the while our skeletal sandbags are getting taken out, and the enemy army is growing ever larger. By the time the last Umbral Tremor portal is eradicated, the initiative order is looking a little bit against our favor, plus all these guys have Radiant Retort, which means no smites. Regardless, they're pretty easy to take out, going down in just a couple hits for the most part, and so long as we have protection from evil and good up, they can't do much to us either. Even though there's a lot of enemies, they're all chaff in the face of Cursed Blade, and before too long they're completely cleared out, causing the cowardly Balthazar to at last open the door and meet us face to face, where he tells us a bit more about the relic, though not too much, just kind of alluding to it. And as much as we'd like to kill him, for now we decide to keep him around until we've got this place figured out a bit better. As it turns out, to get to the relic, we need to gather a few umbral gems locked behind trials, the first of which is the soft step trial. All we need to do for this is sneak past a few roaming shadows, jump over a couple of rather obvious traps, lockpick a door that's in our way, and Umbral Gem 1 is ours for the taking. The second trial is the self-same trial, which conjures up a copy of ourselves, and we have to... well, yeah, we have to do that, I guess. Okay, Umbral Gem 2 is ours as well. The last of the 3 is the Faith Leap. To get past this one, we need to navigate an invisible pathway, but after walking on it initially, we can just jump up onto these handy-dandy platforms, then back down onto the path, and up to the final platform to grab our 3rd gem. The problem is, to get to the bottom of the gauntlet, we actually need 4 gems, meaning we've got to get looking around, and as we do, we stumble across an infernal Orthon by the name of Urgir. Going in with a speed potion active to try and get a surprise round, we get spotted by the enemies first, but thanks to a vigilance elixir, we manage to kick things off anyways. With assistance from the extra action we've got, between the 3 blows we send his way, we reduce the big guy next to no HP with the power of various smites. He does retaliate on his turn, landing only 1 blow but poisoning us in the process and marking us in order to be able to use his legendary action later on. Protection from evil and good continues to be the MVP of this act, ensuring that all of his little goons here don't do much. Next round, we misty step away so we're not completely surrounded, throw a bomb to injure everyone, face tank the legendary action retaliation, and finish off the big guy with yet another bomb before healing up with our final action. As seen, the rest of the fiendish folks here are easy smiting to a guy like Cursed, and the Displacer Beast doesn't fare much better. Sooner rather than later, the world is that much better for having fewer devils in it, and we're that much better for having the 4th and final Umbral Gem. Ahead of exploring the depths of this place, we still have to take out Balthazar himself, who apparently is rather miffed that we've decided to murder him. Immediately, we get a couple blows in, dealing some chunky damage. As one could assume, our protection spells keep us safe from both the goons and the cloud kill he conjures up, which is the only thing he's able to do before he gets sent to a long overdue grave, leaving behind his poor bereft grieving ghouls who likewise get obliterated. The only real tough cookie here is Flesh, who's got a load of HP HP and a load of damage behind it. Never so much damage that we can't heal it up with a potion though. Since the gauntlet is more or less fully cleared of the wickedness that inhabits it, we use our first Umbral Gem to descend to the bottom and the remaining 3 to crack open the gate that awaits there, leading to not a relic but to a pool of shadowy darkness that whisks our Crusader into the Shadowfell itself, where awaiting in its depths is an imprisoned lone figure. Upon reaching them, we find out this is the Night Song, the unwilling source of Ketheric's immortality, and all we need to do to free her is to lay a hand in companionship upon her shoulder. And so it is the Moon Maiden's daughter is reborn once again as Dame Aylin, a paladin just like ourselves with vengeance in her heart, and also just like Curse the Disgraced, her destination is Moonrise Towers. She isn't our only ally waiting for us when we get there. While she's busy on the roof, the Harpers are ready to storm the ground floor right alongside us. Thus, the beginning of the end for Ketheric kicks off. It is all-out war. We start by throwing bombs right at Zarel and her paladins. The enemy archers rain arrows down from on high, Jaheira turns into a panther and just kind of meows at the enemies, and our front line reminds us the Harpers are not really cut out for all-out war. This is sort of the flow of the whole fight. The Harpers employ absolutely no tactics, we focus on blowing up as many people as we can all at once with the help of Bloodlust, and the good guys get eviscerated by AoE that we can't do anything about. Also, there's this beautiful showcase of skill by the Harper archers. I just don't even know what the plan was here. With another few well-placed bombs, we're able to alleviate some of the pressure from the clearly stressed Harpers taking out Zarel, some of the spellcasters, and even a couple archers in the backline. In the midst of all this though, the Warden and a few of her cronies have shown up to tip the scales again. Not that it requires the reinforcements to take out Jaheira, that's just a 4 damage arrow. The Warden does get to work soon after on the back lines, focusing all of her efforts, while we get chopping down paladins who get too close and blowing up the back lines as we work our way forward. She only gets one more round of messing with our friends before another barrage of bombs takes out her and a few others. Honestly, who needs a Silver Sword of the Astral Plane when you have enough explosives in your pocket to take out the Sword Coast? A couple arrows from the 2 surviving Harpers even helps us as we take out the few remaining baddies up close and personal, granting us one last power-up as our oath is fulfilled with each cultist called, this time in the form of Great Weapon Master, letting us make an attack as a bonus action on the same turn we get a crit or a kill. And we can take a -5 to hit for a +10 to damage on those opponents that we really want dead. Before we head to the roof to test our new strength, we implore Shar back at the Gauntlet to get vengeance against her believer who abandoned her, and she grants resistance to necrotic damage for the day. Then we pop open a hidden Sharan Sanctuary in the center of town, wherein lies 3 statues, one for each mental stat, and upon passing their tests, they award us a +5 to each respective stat also until the end of the day. Now that we're properly buffed up, we head back to the towers, kill one more cultist along the way to fuel the Killer Sweetheart ring that we picked up earlier, and finally head to the roof, where Ketheric ain't too happy to see us again, especially now that he's all weak and mortal, but Dame Aylin sure is stoked as we team up with our Paladin pal to start things off. Going in with a flying and speed potion lets us zip on over to Susdera, the Mistress of Souls, promptly breaking her soul, followed by hitting her once more, using our Vow of Enmity on Ketheric and our final action to refresh her speed pot while also giving Aylin a boost. This works out wonderfully as Ketheric whiffs his attacks against her. She gets a sick opportunity attack, letting Papa Thorm get a Bluetooth shield bash on her into a couple brutal crits. With her speed-imbued power, she heroically throws a Necromite off the roof, then does a whopping 3 damage to the big man. Well, at least we can eviscerate Susdera while she distracts Thorm himself. Since everyone here is undead, our protection from evil and good does a very good job of making sure they don't get to do anything to us, including the big man, who can theoretically hit pretty hard. But Cursed can hit way harder, especially as we finally decide to use Killer Sweetheart in conjunction with Thunderous and Divine Smite, doing what I like to call a Giga Smite, sending the undead Merkle worshipper directly into a cutscene calling a timeout.
Enough.
prior to summoning a big-ass tentacle to smack the hell out of the Night Song right back into the blood puddle she just crawled out of, and teleporting them both away to somewhere deep underground. Okay, maybe shouldn't have actually let him call the timeout. Once the last of the Necromites are cleaned out, we find a big ol' hole that our cowardly foe retreated into, following after him directly into an illithid colony, where we get ripping and tearing until it is done. Having shown these alien forces a glimpse of our might, we get preparing for the final showdown, casting protection from evil and good as we descend down to where Ketheric awaits, only to find him talking with the other two chosen of the Absolute, Gortash and Orin, who don't exactly all get along. But as it turns out, when it comes to the Absolute, they sure do, as they're in control of it and not the other way around like we thought. All of this is simply the work of the Dead Three, a group of evil gods trying to take over the world, and the Brain, along with Ketheric's buddies, zip away to march on the city of Baldur's Gate. So we've got to clean up quick. To start, we summon Scratch since someone needs to free Dame Aelin, throw down a potion of flying and a potion of invisibility so we can both float on over into position. To kick things off, we get a surprise round on the Mind Flayer on the high ground, Scratch frees Dame Aelin right after, and we're off to the races. We do decide to switch to a Cloud Giant elixir here, but with a Lacerating Strike and a regular strike together, we get the Mind Flayer down to 2 HP and bleeding, which means they'll bleed out. Aelin herself gets working on the various goons while Scratch helps out. The fight as a whole down here really isn't too different from the one upstairs. The only real difference is this time his legendary action hits us hard, and so do his smites. But we've got plenty of healing potions to patch us right back up. The Night Song, however, is not so fortunate as she goes down. Either way, eventually we use a speed potion once he gets nice and low to bring him just down to the brink, causing Aelin's holy fire of all things to be what takes him out for good. That is, until he sacrifices himself into the big old evil glowing pit in the center and Merkel, Lord of Bones, gives him a new form as his apostle. However, we are well prepared for this. His Gaze of the Dead doesn't deal a lot of damage because of our necrotic resistance and the DJ half-plate we're wearing giving advantage on the save. Plus, even if we do fail, we can't be frightened because of protection from evil. His Call of the Damned likewise doesn't do much as it's a strength save, and once again, even if we fail, we won't be pulled thanks to the boots that we're wearing preventing that as well. To reduce his damage even further, we make sure to continually blind him with darkness arrows and get wailing bit by bit with speed potions and flying potions, helping us go back and forth, healing up whenever we have to. Rinse and repeat for a bit, and he activates his Merkel's Call feature, letting him snack on Necromites to heal and gain Finger of Death. The blindness prevents him from casting the finger, and switching to the Doomhammer preemptively means he doesn't get the heal either. So long as we properly juggle all of these resources, it isn't long before all the people Ketheric has wronged at last get their justice. No mercy for the wicked. Indeed, vengeance belongs to Dame Aelin as he is struck down. The Netherstone belongs to Cursed as we take it for ourselves, alongside his armor, which is more or less just a +1 boost to our AC compared to our normal gear. Plus, Aelin gets reunited with her girlfriend, and they decide to come traveling with us as we journey to the city properly. Seeing us getting even stronger, Vlak decides to ensure we can get even more vengeance as another Chirai gets in our way right as we're about to leave the Shadowcurse lands. But she's even easier than the last one we fought thanks to a surprise round and Crawler Mucus giving us crit after crit before she can even really do a thing, and her cronies sure don't last long either. Even the land itself gets vengeance over the curse that would keep it down, blossoming now that all the wickedness has been removed from it, and as the light touches this place at last, so too will we ensure Orpheus' light reaches our people. The big city, all our answers, and our final goals await just beyond the horizon. Thanks very much for watching as always, folks. Sorry for this one taking so long. I got hella sick over the holidays and I didn't want to rush this one out, so I hope it was worth the wait. And as always, thanks for the Storyteller tier members here on YouTube: OCanCan, Mark Rainbow, That Be Renee, El Guardia, Ramon Standalone, Zablight25, Witch Amy, Schmentai Neko, Miku, Achilles the Spartan, and Audi Kashi.